Hello there, you're watching and listening to another Scoutcast on www.fantasyfootballscout.co.uk, and my name is Mark.
My name's John T.
My name's Andy.
Good evening, gentlemen. Welcome back to the Scoutcast after the break.
Yeah, it's good to be here. It feels like a long time since we've been broadcasting. I know it's very hotly anticipated, tonight's one. Lots of people are wildcarding and preparing for the double game week, so they want our pearls of wisdom, if we've got any, to give them for that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It was regrettable that we couldn't have a Scoutcast last week, but there was a very good reason for that. We gave the site a facelift, and it was all a bit edgy, a little bit hairy. We had a few problems with the servers, but we've sorted that out, and we've been gathering feedback on the new site for a couple of weeks now. We've got plenty still to do, but that occupied me last week. I was a little bit, should we say politely, a little bit strung out, a little bit exhausted. So I think I messaged you in the afternoon, Jonty, didn't I? And said, I don't think I'm going to be conscious by this evening. So yeah, apologies for that one. And we know that people were preparing their wildcards, but we're back just in time to talk wildcards, and it's going to dominate tonight's conversation, isn't it, Andy?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I've got my list of Aston Villa strikers ready now. Yeah, I think we'll be on our way. But yeah, it should be a good one. I think, like you said, a lot of people are looking forward to it, and us three have been too.
Yeah, I mean, we've got our wildcards active, so we're in a good position to start talking about it now. It's been hotly anticipated. For weeks we've been talking about this couple of weeks, haven't we, John T? Kind of bracing ourselves for this opportunity to, well, we presume that people with wildcards and chips left are going to soar up the ranks. So there's so many questions on this from the community who seem to be in the same boat and expecting the same kind of conclusion.
Yeah, I mean, there's all particular players we're going for, and the real struggle is we can't have every player we want. We just haven't got the money. Even those with a huge team value, there's still someone you can't get, and it's really annoying to really expensive players that started coming into form. And we'll discuss this later, but it doesn't help having Alexis Sanchez and De Bruyne looking like key assets. And first some cheaper ones.
Yeah, it's a strange way. It does feel odd. I don't remember a time like this in previous seasons. We got a question later on about game week memories. I don't remember anything like this where the double game weeks are so hotly anticipated and there's so many fixtures and so many players suddenly coming into form. It's just going to be pretty exciting. So lots to talk about. We shouldn't dwell on it anymore. We're going to talk about our game weeks as well because we've had a good run, haven't we? I mean, I think a lot of people, as you're going to mention, a lot of people on FFS and a lot of the veteran group have had some fantastic game weeks of late, and that just continues. So we're going to touch on that. We're going to look at rough with the smooth and talk about some of the game weeks out in the community. There were some early wildcards fluttering away as well, and then we go over to the questions and we talk about the various double game week dilemmas. We're going to talk about Everton and Palace in particular because they're the teams with the game week 33 double, but obviously we've got to touch on the 34 doubles as well. And even 37s with so many wildcards and chips in play. So let's get started. Let's talk about our game weeks. John, do you want to kick us off because you came top of the pile again, didn't you?
Yeah, it was a really, really good game week. It was 80 points, so I was really pleased with that. And what I did is I used my 2 free transfers. I got Dawson and Ericsson out. They scored 11 points between them, but I got in Bellerin, who got 14, so already beaten. And I got Payet in and captained him. I used my goals imminent table for that one. He was top of the pile there, and I didn't trust Aguero away. In the end, they almost, Payet did outscore him. I do want to thank someone, actually. JK is the one. He told me I was about to play Ali instead of Sigurdsson, and he said, have a look at Fantasy Football Scout's comparison tool. So quite useful. I comparison tooled them, and I was quite shocked, actually. It wasn't that Ali was bad, it's just Sigurdsson was so much better, and not just in assist potential, goal threat, everything. And then so I weighed up the opposition, Liverpool and Stoke that they had, and I just thought, well, yeah, I mean, he's right. And lo and behold, Sigurdsson scored, so that was a great move there. So yeah, definitely want to thank him there. So I've gone up into, I'm now 16,936, which wouldn't have guessed I'd get that high
I remember a few weeks back, wasn't it, John? We had a question about where your expectations were, and I think you said at the time, well, I want to make the top 10,000. It might be a little bit of a forlorn hope, might be too optimistic. It's not now. You've got to be looking at the top 5, maybe even making the top 1,000, if you get lucky.
Well, I mean, we'll go that far, but I'd be now, at this stage, disappointed if I don't make the top 10,000. But I hope I do. But in terms of money, the important bits is I'm now top of one of my cash leagues, and I'm second in another one. So that's the important bit. That's what the rank gives you.
Money, John T.
But one of our regular community writers, Cavalier, has been tracking people like us, 34 veterans, so people who are far better than us as well. Villa Ronca, who's top of our Hall of Fame, various other people. And this week was a particularly good week. He says that 18 of those 34 are now in the top 20,000, and not many of them were over Christmas when he started this. So, and he thinks that the chips, if they go to plan, the chips and the double game weeks, that there's going to be perhaps many more of that 34 going to be in the top 20,000. So that's,
it's amazing how it's worked out, isn't it? It's I suppose you put it down to the prolonged form of Harry Kane, Aguero coming good, both really big favourites amongst the veteran group, as we've seen and mentioned before. I guess, I suppose Vardy beginning to dry up a little bit as well, because obviously the top 10,000 previously was so reliant on his consistency. Payet coming good, I guess. I guess that the veterans jumped on Payet's form quite early as well. He's done us well. Sigurdsson, another player, and Christian Fuchs, who has just been absolutely sensational, hasn't he? I mean, I thought Charlie Daniels was going to be your dark horse of the season. It's going to be Fuchs now, isn't it, for you? He's been a star.
Well, yeah, no, it was Charlie Daniels, but then the fixtures, it's just play the fixtures. And the thing with Leicester is that their fixtures are also really good. I mean, they are getting 1-0, so that's the way they're playing it. But the fixtures, it's no coincidence. Now, can Leicester keep that up for the final game of the season? They've got a terrible run towards the end of the game. They might have the title sewn up by then. Whilst Christian Fuchs is very hard to get rid of, but we'll come to that later.
Yeah, okay, Andy, your game week, 72 points, got to be happy with that.
Yeah, really happy with that. I actually, after last week saying that I could go the whole season without playing all-out attack, I actually used it this week, or last week, because all my defenders were playing away, so I just thought, they're probably not going to get anything. They didn't, apart from Azpilicueta, so yeah, it worked out alright, and brought Payet in and captained him. It was either him or Aguero, so like John said, kind of went alright either way. So yeah, decent week for me again, another green arrow. Only 230k, but compared to the 700k I was maybe 7 weeks ago, it's going all right for me.
Yeah, very respectful indeed. And you both captain Payet. I went Aguero. That was one of the reasons I ended up with just 69 points. The other one was that I did bench Siggy. I had that dilemma with Ali and Siggy. I went the other way to John T. I did actually read your mind with the transfer. We both went Bellerin. We both benefited from that. Mentioned Bellerin, John T. I can't let this go. How many goals and assists and bonus points has he scored? He was rubbish.
As soon as I said he was rubbish, he suddenly became good again, which is fine. In true pragmatic Dullard style, as soon as he became good again, I didn't think, oh well, I've said he was bad, so I'll never get him. I just got him in, and presto.
I can't believe he turned up to training, let alone got you points after what you said about him. But there you go, he did the business for you. Sigurdsson for me. I looked at it and went, well, okay. My reasoning behind it was I felt Swansea were in that kind of like, well, we're going to grind out a point. We're going to grind out 0-0s or 1-1 draws. I didn't see them scoring twice at Stoke, especially when they were 2-0 down. I thought, well, that's that. I'll bank that. I've got Ali tomorrow. That was a good decision. And then they came back, and not surprising when Swansea scored, Sigurdsson's got something to do with it. His involvement over recent weeks has been incredible for them. And Ali didn't do anything for me at Spurs. But Spurs at Liverpool, I looked at that and thought, well, Spurs have got to win. They've got to go for goals. I fancy Liverpool scoring, and they did. So I thought Spurs would get 2, maybe even more at Anfield, because they had that motivation. Where I just didn't see the motivation in Swansea. Didn't come off for me. I mean, I want to make sure my team's different to yours, because I harbour kind of futile ambitions of catching you. So in a way, when I saw that you had Sigurdsson and I had Ali, I kind of welcomed that, but it just didn't work out, did it? I don't want to beat myself up about it. It could work out the other way another time. Okay, so 69 points for me. Bellerin, I'm up to 70,000 in the world, just under that, 69,000. Happy with that. I'm going to be in for a fairly respectable season if the double game weeks work out, but more on that in a moment. Rough and smooth, John T. How did the community do?
Well, yeah, I want to focus on basically something that one of our contributors and moderators, Ryan, put forward in a community article. He was saying, well, forget game week 33 wildcard, let's go for game week 32. and lots of people listened, and they did very well. So credit Ryan there. So DJ Pete, he wildcarded early. Mitrovic got in, great, double Arsenal defence, and De Gea as well, all brought in on his wildcard, so that's worked out. Irish Madrista as well. He's up to 27,000 in the world. He had a game week rank within the top 1,000, and he got 96 points. So Bellerin, Sanchez, Lanzini, he captained Payet. Plus he got in Tim Closer, so he's looking at game week 37. And what Tim with 2 M's Closer for Norwich scored a goal, incredible. Loyal Royale, he brought in Bellerin, Gabriel, De Gea, Payet, all of the top players. Great, so they can all buy Ryan a drink next time they visit New Zealand where he lives.
Also they can have the week off while we're frantically looking around for the perfect storm of once our wildcard teams. They can just sit back, relax, and watch the prices go up. So that's a pretty enviable position really for them.
Yeah. So lots of good SMEs there. I mean, there weren't. When I asked for rough with SMEs, I didn't really get that many roughs, but I did get one. This poor guy here, this Mauritius, he wildcarded for game week 32, and he was thinking a little bit too far ahead, and got West Brom's Olsen in, who didn't play. Who obviously, I think Norwich's Olsen did actually score, so he got the wrong one there, and he got Flanagan in for some reason, who didn't play. Surprise, surprise. For Liverpool, so I'm not quite sure what he was doing there, but let's hope he can rectify that.
Yeah, he might recover from that, and like I say, at least he's got a week off. He can sit back and watch us all squirm now, with a bit of comfort there. Okay, we've got so much to get through, haven't we? I don't know if we're actually going to get through all these questions before the bell tolls, but what we'll do is we've got plenty to talk about next week as well, of course, with the double game week 34. So we might save some up, but let's get on with them, Jonty. Where do you want to start?
I think we're going to start with the key question here that so many people are asking. I know that all three of us are probably going through the same thing. So what do we do with our Leicester and Spurs players? They've got no double game weeks, but they're in such fine form. Do we get rid of them? So people ask, are we being fooled into selling our best players? Harry Kane, Mahrez, Fuchs, by these double game weeks? Will those that have already used up their second wildcard, will they actually get better scores than us lot? Maybe. So, Mark, I mean, what are you doing? You've got a few of those players. Are you keeping them?
Yeah, I mean, this is actually a burning question that we got coming up on the site. We're reviving that article, and that'll be out later this week. I believe you've put your answer in for that already. I haven't contributed to that yet, but I'll give you my thoughts at the moment. You say they're both in form. I think they are both in form in terms of results, but I think Leicester are a very different animal now to what they were several months ago. I'm just looking at their goal threat recently. So they've won their last 4 matches 1-0, first of all. So we've all benefited from Fuchs's, we're going to say Fuchs so many times, eventually we're going to slip up, from Fuchs's clean sheets and his bonus points. But in attacking areas, Mahrez and Vardy. Mahrez has done well, 2 goals over those 4 games, so 2 of the 4 goals Leicester scores he's got. Vardy hasn't scored in 6 though, so he's dried right up. And Leicester is an attacking force. So I did a quick comparison, and goal attempts are down from 13.4 a match to 10.8 over the last 4 game weeks. Open play attempts down to 6.5 from 9.2. Every kind of key indicator is saying that as an attacking force, they're beginning to dry up. They haven't slid right down the table yet, but last 4 game weeks, they're now suddenly a mid-table force rather than up there in the top 3 and 4. And so it makes me wonder, this is working for them. They're winning games 1-0. Are they ever going to be in a position where they go in front and try and win a game 2-3-0? It doesn't look like it. It looks like the only way they're going to start scoring more than 1 goal a game is if they have to, because they have to win the game because the opposition score. And the fixtures are good. Sunderland, West Ham, Swansea, the next 3. West Ham, you can see them scoring. Sunderland, are they going to score against Leicester? Maybe. Sunderland have got the motivation. So I just wonder how many goals we can possibly get from Mahrez and Vardy. So I didn't think I would say it, but I think both are going to go for me. Harry Kane is very different. Harry Kane is harder to get rid of, isn't he? Where do you stand on this, Andy? Because you've got these players as well. What's your current thinking?
Yeah, so I won't go over Leicester again because my thinking is kind of the same. If they're grinding out 1-0 results, that's just 1 goal. Vardy was an easy one to get rid of. There's not very many striker spots. Harry Kane is an interesting one because a lot of people want to keep him Obviously, he's in red hot form. He's the top scorer this year. Spurs are still pushing. I actually I've got rid of him already, so he's gone for me. He's 10 million in a side you're trying to fit with double game week players. It's quite hard to fit him in too, I found. A couple of other things. A player that price, you tend to... It's a bit like your Aguero conundrum from a few weeks ago. You kind of want to captain him at that price. And I don't see, apart from game week 35, which week you're going to captain him in from now until the end of the season, where there's not a better or as good option. And even in game week 35, when he has West Brom, Aguero has Stoke. So if you're keeping Aguero, I don't think many of us would quibble with Captain Aguero at Stoke. So Kane's already gone for me. And I think the other Spurs players, Ali and the defender, I don't think many people will find it too difficult to get rid of. I think maybe even a Leicester defender is the one that people are probably trying to consider now.
Well, this is it.
You know, someone like Danny Simpson is only, I think, he's 4.1 or 4.2. It's quite good value when you're trying to fit in all these other players.
Yeah, and I suspect, Jonty, that you are loath to get rid of Christian Fuchs, aren't you? I said it again, that's the 5th time.
Christian Fuchs is indeed, out of the 3, he's the one I'm least keen to see go. As we said, Leicester going for 1-0s, and he's getting those bonus, he's getting the assists, he's so cheap. I got him when he was really cheap, so he's gone up to 5.1, 5.2 something now. But I got him when he was much cheaper than that. He's hard to get rid of. The one option is, it's been mentioned before, Simpson. Simpson is 4.2. If we think Leicester are going to get clean sheets, also Leicester have a good game in game week 35. That could be crucial. We don't want to ruin all the good work of game week 34 and then have a bad 35. I'm tempted to basically free up some money and swap with Simpson, just to get that Leicester defensive coverage, but you know they're going for that. Mahrez, I completely agree with you. Same with Vardy. I'm happy to see them go. There's much better options. Harry Kane, what Andy was saying about the captaincy, that's key because the fear factor has gone there. People aren't going to captain, except in game 35. That's the only fearful week, I think. But the other thing about Harry Kane is his huge price. And his huge price, if you think about you're on a wild card and you've got all the other players we're about to mention throughout the FFScoutCast, got big hefty price tags. It's not just who you place Harry Kane with, it's how you can use that money, that 4 million, to upgrade a midfielder. So for example, for me, I've currently got Mahrez and Kane in my side because I haven't got rid of them yet, but I'm very keen to swap them for De Bruyne and Mitrovic. Mitrovic has more games. Newcastle only have one strategy. It's to aim at Mitrovic's head. I like that. That's good. So I don't care whether Newcastle lose. I just care whether Mitrovic scores. And I think that De Bruyne is a step up from Mahrez purely because he's got more games. He's got good fixtures. And hey presto, he scored again during the Champions League. So there's 2 goals in his last 2 games. That's form.
Yeah, and it is the enabler that Kane gives you if you sell him and you get the funds, because I agree that, you know, we've got Aguero and we've got Kane up front. That's a lot of money, and Aguero is far harder to get rid of given that City have got the double game weeks. And we've talked about Sanchez coming into form. We're going to touch on Sanchez as Ozil later on. De Bruyne you mentioned there. I think inevitably I will get rid of Kane. I'm just holding on to him in case I have some kind of revelation and somehow I can manage to get an effective double game week together without getting rid. But I think it's inevitable that Kane's going to go for me as well. With heavy heart, because these players have got us, they've kind of revived our season. Certainly Harry Kane has played a big part in that. We got in early with him, and his form has been relentless. He's kind of taken over where Vardy left off in terms of the consistency. So I love Kane as a player, but I think for me he will eventually go. I'm just holding on for that little bit longer. Don't ask me why. Next question, Jonty.
Well, we're talking about Harry Kane. Who are we going to replace him with? So, best third striker. So, this is from FFScoutCast. He's assuming, and this is a very good assumption, that most people who look at the fixtures are going to be getting Lukaku in for 2 doubles and Aguero. Who's? I mean, he's put forward 2 ones, Martial and Mitrovic. I think they're probably the 2 ones people ought to be considering, but perhaps there's others as well. I mean, Andy, which of those do you prefer, or is there another third striker you've gone in to replace Kane with?
If he plays both games and you could afford it, I really think Daniel Sturridge could be one of the top scorers. But I mean, realistically, he's a lot of money, which most people aren't going to be able to afford. Right now, I'm sitting on Mitrovic for the reason that he doesn't have a blank in game week 35 and he's a bit cheaper than Martial. Everyone else for the kind of team that I'm putting together, I just think there's an issue with them. Either like Rashford, he could be replaced by Rooney when he comes back. Martial, yes, he's nailed good fixtures, but he has a blank. Igalo and Deeney for Watford, they have a blank and they just don't seem to be scoring right now. So I think in isolation, if you're just doing game week 34, for example, then Martial is better than Mitrovic. But when you take into effect the blank and stuff and the cheaper price, for me, I'm going to probably go for Mitrovic, I think, in the end.
Yeah, the thing that's interesting here is we talk about the fact that Mitrovic has the fixture in game week 35, but you don't have to play 3 strikers in game week 35, and you've got no excuse really for not having a strong midfield, given that we're playing wildcard. So I think we forget that we're only going to play the bench boots in 34. We're only going to need 11 players for 35. So yes, Martial has the blank, but Mitrovic at Liverpool, is that going to be? Are you not going to have a midfielder or defender that you'd rather play over Mitrovic at Liverpool, Andy?
I don't think so. No, I mean I've got Lanzini, Payet. I don't have Payet right now. He's another option, but they all blank. So I think looking at my team, yeah, he is the only option for me is just to play Mitrovic, and that's why I can't afford to put in someone like Martial because it's just another person to worry about. So, like I said, I'm not saying that Mitrovic is the best option in isolation for that game week, but so that I can field 11 in 35, he's the one that I'm going for.
Yeah, and the other thing to remember is we'll have a transfer as well. I think it's easy to forget that we do have one chance of getting somebody in. So, there's just so much to think about, isn't it? But I agree, Mitrovic and Martial look the obvious options. I looked at Martial's stats before we came on air, and there's a big improvement. Last 4 game weeks, his goal attempts are up from 1.9 per game to 2.7. Mins per attempts 35.9, up from 48.9. So he's posing more of a threat for one reason or another. Whether United are just playing with more confidence, or Martial is just obviously getting more and more settled in the Premier League, I don't know. But there is improvement there. Rooney coming back is a factor though that could upset all that, and that worries me a bit, as does the blank. So Mitrovic I kind of like as an option. He's an odd fish. He's not one to be relied upon, but it looks like Newcastle have got to score goals to save themselves, and they've got good fixtures, haven't they, Jonathan?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Newcastle, the key thing is this game week 35, they play, and that's what he's got over Martial. And I agree, Martial is, because of the fixtures. I mean, if he can't, I mean, I could score against Villa at the moment, and I'm really, really unfit. So I envisage goals there. And then, yeah, Newcastle, I think they've got quite a good game with Southampton coming up next. So I think there could be some returns there. And also looking at the stats as well, Mitrovic, so he's had 2 starts and he's had 14 shots inside the box. So only over that period, over the last 4 matches, only Harry Kane and Aguero can beat that. And shots on target, well, you know, Kane's out there on his own with 13 there. And then you've got 7 Aguero, 7 Lukaku, and then you've got 3 or 4 on 6 for Mitrovic. He's only played 2 games, so in half the time. He's getting those. Martial's way down. Well, I mean, he's got 5 shots on target, but a lot of the other stats he's quite far down on. I don't know. He's quite exciting. It's a bit unusual for me. Martial is probably the kind of more dull pick because he's fixtures really. He's got great fixtures, and he's Man U. Historically a good team. Not at the moment, but Mitrovic is the punt, and I think. I think he's definitely in the driving seat for this one. I'm not considering anyone outside of those 2. And
let me throw another name in there that I'm kind of looking at.
Danny Welbeck.
Yeah, exactly, because it's a ready-made differential, isn't it? And he appears to be above Giroud in the pecking order. I think he will lose some minutes over the two matches, but the fixtures are so strong. Palace and West Brom at home in 34. So even if he's on the bench for one and comes on in the last 10-15. You wouldn't count him out getting goals. And after that, 35, Sunderland away, Norwich at home in 36. So, he is tempted, but obviously we've only got 3 Arsenal slots, and that's the problem here. And Arsenal have got 2 enablers in Iwobi and Gabriel that we're looking at and we'll talk about later. And then they've got Ozil and Sanchez who we're going to come on to next, I'm sure. So it's difficult to use a slot for Welbeck, particularly when you want an Arsenal defender, whether it be Bellerin or Gabriel, and when you definitely want Sanchez. It's where does that 3rd slot go? But Welbeck, I'm looking at it because I don't think many will go with him, and I think Arsenal's fixtures are so strong, and they've got to go for goals, haven't they, Arsenal? They've got to win matches. Jonty, not thinking of that?
I can't really. I can actually afford him. That's one of the reasons I'm not really looking at the fixtures. Is Mitrovic is a bit cheaper, and it's really quite finely balanced, the budget for the wildcard. And I know I'm in quite a similar position. I can't really stretch that far, and especially as we're going to come on to in Iwobi and Gabriel, we appear to have two starters who are getting points, who cost 4 million or so. So it's pretty hard to ignore them. But yeah, I mean, we can come on to Sanchez and Özil perhaps now, really. And Sanchez is only coming to form, and to lots of people, Super Zlatan, Rupert the Horse, Beavis, they're saying, are we writing off Özil too early? And is it worth doubling up on both? So the assumption there is we're all going for Sanchez. So we've all seen Sanchez over the last 2 or 3 matches. But I understand, Mark, you've got some stats, is that right, on Sanchez and Özil?
Well, I mean, let's go on Sanchez. I mean, I kind of felt that, I want to do a comparison between Sanchez and Özil, but I looked at Özil before I came on air, and while his goal attempts, strangely, he's blanked for the last 4 game weeks. Let's put that out there first of all, which is why we're feeling fidgety. And alongside that, Sanchez has come into form and started to look like he's playing. He was playing within himself a bit after the injury. He's come out and admitted that himself, but now he looks like he's got that edge back, and he's shooting on sight. He's definitely their big goal threat. So they've kind of, Sanchez has come to the fore as Özil has kind of dropped down in output. Why has Özil dropped down in output? His goal attempts are up over the last 4 game weeks, but incredibly, his distribution, I looked at that, and his chances created, he's halved the number of chances he's creating. His creativity is down by 50%. So all of a sudden, the most creative player in the Premier League is just suddenly drying up in terms of creativity. And why is that? Has it got something to do with Sanchez? Well, it might well be, because Sanchez is actually, while he's not shooting as much as he did earlier in the season, he's creating more chances. And so something's changed, whether it be Iwobi's introduction and Sanchez's return to the fore, has meant that Özil is now taking a back seat in terms of creating chances. And that really surprised me, because I always thought he was going to be, reliable for that. But it just seems to have dried up for him. And so that's a worry, because that's his main source of points. That's Özil, that's his bread and butter. It's not goals. We don't rely on Özil for goals. We rely on him for assists. He's blanked in the last 4, and his chances created are down by 50%. So that's a concern. And for me, he's already gone. Now I might well get him back. I've got Sanchez in at the moment, and Özil's gone. But yeah, it's difficult to get him back when you've got De Bruyne in there as a factor as well. I don't even know if I can afford either of them. But I'm looking at Özil and wondering if I can go without him, but right now I haven't, and the stats kind of back it up. Andy, what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'm kind of the same. I haven't got Özil right now. I've got Sanchez. I've seen a few people say that Özil, is 4 blanks in a row, but it's actually 2 goals and 2 assists in 12 matches now. So, like you say, he's just really gone off the boil. And Sanchez, I don't know, he seems to go on runs of form like this, and there's probably no one better, maybe Aguero, who's going to be explosive for you in a double game week. So yeah, it's just Sanchez for me. I think he's the one more likely to score, and right now, like you say, he's creating more chances. So yeah, I think I can see why people are going without Özil. I still think he's a good pick if you've got the money to have both. But if it's a straight out choice between the two, then Sanchez would win every day for me.
Yeah, I mean, just looking at Özil's stat, this is the minutes per chance created. Up to game week 28, he was creating a chance every 20 minutes. From game week 29 to 32, he's creating a chance every 64 minutes. So what has happened? That's a massive, massive swing. I don't know whether it's set pieces or whether just Iwobi's coming in and he's taking up the positions and him and Sanchez are working in tandem for the bulk of the time. Something's happened though, and that is a factor for me. Jonty, what are you feeling about us? He's gone for you already, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's gone. Yeah, he's gone for Sanchez. I mean, I like looking at the stats, and here it is. Chances created over the last 4 matches, 13. Sanchez. He is now the creator-in-chief, and he's the goal scorer. He's also top for shots in the box. So it's down to 8. So that's still second out of all the Arsenal players. But as you said, by Özil standards, that's pretty poor. But get this, so his goal attempts have gone up. But typical for a midfielder, we've seen this so many times when midfielders try and shoot, well, 1 shot on target. So you compare that. So Sanchez is 6 times better at shooting, and he's getting on for nearly twice as good at creating chances. The other thing, I'm looking for a captain in Game Week 34. Weeks ago, I was looking at Özil, not anymore. So I still can't trust Aguero away, and Sanchez. He's looking. I mean, great fixtures, 2 home games. Yeah, I mean, it's a no-brainer for me, Sanchez over Özil.
Yeah, and then the thing is with Arsenal as well, they haven't got the distractions of Europe. They've got to try and end the season with a flourish. They still think they're in the title race, so they're still going to be in it in Game Week 34. They're still going to be going for goals, I'd have thought. Those 2 fixtures, Palace and West Brom, yeah, you could be looking at 5, 6, 7 goals there for Arsenal. I know they haven't been doing that, but with Sanchez and Iwobi, the way they're playing in tandem, yeah, it could happen. Which is why Welbeck is a factor for me as well, because I just think that Arsenal, the brakes are off a bit. They've got to go for it now. They've got nothing to lose, and we hope, if we are going to go Sanchez captain, which I think that's where I'm going to go too, that he's going to be a big benefactor there. So yeah, Özil gone, I think.
Yeah, so another midfielder, Payet. So I got him in. He's done well. That free kick he scored, unbelievable. And I love all the things that have gone on, all the things on Twitter about recreating how to stop a Payet free kick. And there's a brilliant one where they've suddenly got about 40 Palace players all lined up, and he still scores it. But that's how good he is. For me, he's definitely in. Alfie's Leg asks, Payet, yay or nay? He's in my side. He's not going anywhere. I'm going to be benching him in Game Week 35. He's all in place for Game Week 37 as well, where I may well captain him. But I understand, Andy, you don't have him in your wildcard side.
Andy?
So let's hear about that then.
So I still have him currently. I've not actually clicked the button, but he is not in my current plans, and this is one of those things where it's like it's all based on your team and what your plan is going on, but he just doesn't fit in with my team this week without having to either field 10 men in Game Week 35 or take an extra hit. So I'm taking the risk, maybe a risk, that De Bruyne, who would be the one that would have to go for me, is going to do better. De Bruyne also has less ownership, so he could push me up the ranks a bit more. So I'm really banking on Payet not doing as well as everyone's hoping. And I do realise that's a risk, because when you ask people who the first person on their team sheet is, his name is usually one of the ones that comes up. So definitely not saying he's a bad pick. He's probably one of the best, but I am probably going to go without, and I don't really see that changing. But
the other factor, Andy, is Lanzini, isn't it? Because he's for me, we're going to talk about neighbours and me, but he's the top one. I think the price you can get him, I think, is 4.9. He's in great form, and his stats stack up well to Payet. And of course, if you take the free kicks out of Payet's game, suddenly he's nowhere near as effective. I know it's difficult. You can't just say, well, no free kicks, but he's got to win a free kick. To be honest, he's been doing that himself. You can see the way he's playing. He's trying to draw fouls around the box because he fancies himself. So it's still going to be a supply there, you think, but is he going to be able to keep doing it? It's pretty incredible, his accuracy. So you don't want to bet against it. But Lanzini is the factor, because do you want to double up on West Ham midfielders when they got the blank? And also their fixtures, their 34 fixtures aren't brilliant. Leicester away, Watford at home. I mean, Leicester away, we got to. And West Ham going to score more than one? Are they going to score at all at the King Power? And Watford at home, yeah, okay. But the thing we've got to remember as well is, it's the blank. That's the killer. And and also the cup replays coming up for them. Their minds on that. I just wonder about Payet. It's a lot of money. It's a bit like the Kane situation. We know he's a great player. We know he can deliver. That's a given for Payet and Kane. It's about weighing up what you can do with the funds that you free up, and the fact that you can get Lanzini as well. And for me, like Kane, he's still in my team, but I think he might go. Jonty?
Wow, that surprises me. As I said, lots of people say first name on the team sheet. I mean, you mentioned about, we'll come to a question a bit further down, but we might as well come to it now, actually. It's about budget enablers, because this really is, if we're not going to go for Payet, who do we have? Lanzini's the one there. So lots of people, Red Devil, Escucci, and Jack the Cat, all ask about, who are the best budget enablers for our wildcard teams. They mentioned a few names. We mentioned Gabriel. We mentioned Iwobi, Jesse Lingard. Jesse Lingard's currently in my side at the moment. Lanzini and Rashford. One of the things I'm looking at these types of players is, let's not go crazy about them. They are that price for a reason, and one of the things is they're not nailed on. So we need to be sure that they're actually going to play twice, whether it's worth getting them in. We all know that they can all score. So I looked at Lingard. So he's had 10 starts out of the last 11. That says nailed on. That's good. He's had one double-digit score, so that's not great. But he's 4.3. So what do you expect? Lanzini, 13 matches. He's played more than 60 minutes. So that's not as nailed on. But he's come back. He's played a lot of the recent ones. But he's got 3 double-digit scores. So the upside of getting Lanzini in is really good. Rashford, so we don't know what's going to happen there. But he's had 5 starts in the last 5. Rooney's out. So if Rooney can stay out, he should play 1 double-digit score. That's not bad. And Iwobi, well, last 2 starts, and he's got 8 points in each. So if he does that over a double, you've got your 4.5 million. If you can get 16 points from him for your 4.5 million fifth midfielder, wow. He's your worst midfielder. Yeah, he's getting that. So I think all of these have merit, and it's all going to depend on personal preference and your budget.
Yeah, and I think the Iwobi versus Gabriel debate is the tough one. I might have one, I might not go with either. But the thing is, with the 34 players, there's no point in playing bench boost if you're not getting 2 games. You've got to try and maximise bench boost by having both matches. And we've got to be honest, Iwobi and Gabriel, they're not guaranteed. Gabriel, which one is more likely to play 2? I think it's a tough call. I do. Wenger's not going to flog Iwobi. He's playing really well, and he's made a big difference. He's a spark, but he doesn't need to play him in that West Brom game, and he can rest him, and he can shake his team up. He's got Walcott who can come into the side. Surely he'll want to give minutes to Giroud and Walcott, which will mean players like Welbeck and Iwobi will suddenly drop to the bench. Did you not see that, John? Did you not think that, or do you really think he's going to play both 90?
Maybe no. As I said, we don't know. That's what you buy into with that price, though. I think he started last year. But Joel Campbell, remember he was getting all those great starts, wasn't he? And he was doing really well. He was the Iwobi of old. Now he comes on for the last 10 minutes along with Walcott and see if you can grab a last-minute goal. I think Iwobi will play in both matches. I'm not convinced he'll get 180. But to be honest, let's not kid ourselves. What do you expect for 4.5 million? I wouldn't expect him to play 180.
The thing is, I think one of those names you mentioned is nailed on, though, and that is Lanzini.
Yeah, absolutely.
For 0.4 million more, you're getting a player that is going to play in both games.
Yeah.
The others, you could look at it as in, for 4 million, I'm getting a guy that's definitely going to play one game probably, and then, probably going to play one game, and then we'll probably get more minutes, like you say. But I just think Lanzini for 0.4 million is possibly worth the extra money. And if I had to bet between Iwobi or Gabriel to start both, I would go Gabriel. I think is more likely. He started 8 of the last 9. Mertesacker has been back. It's not like he's continued to be injured or wherever he was out. I think he might be more nailed than people think.
Yeah, no, I agree. And centre backs tend not to get rotated as much, whereas Iwobi is obviously he's a runner. And he's so young, and I think Wenger will have the resources by then that he can shuffle things around. I personally, I'm looking at, no one's mentioned Andros Townsend. I think he's 5'8", and he's playing for a team, Newcastle, who got to win matches, and they've got 2 home games, Swansea and Man City. And if I don't get Mitrovic, I think I want some coverage of Newcastle, because I think they've got to score goals, and they've struggled to do it. But Townsend is a player I like, and he got the assist for Mitrovic's goal, and I think that if you're backing him to score goals, which if you're going Mitrovic you are, I think Townsend at 5'8" is a decent bet. He is guaranteed to play both games. He's got to. Newcastle can't win matches if they're putting a player like Townsend on the bench. So I think he's one who could sneak in for me, and at 5'8", I think that's a decent price. I'm all about trying to get 2 matches out of the 34, because if we're going to play bench boost, you've got to get as many players on the pitch. There's no point in having Iwobi and Lingard if they only play one of the 2 matches, because you've kind of wasted the chip there. It's all about getting the 15 players, isn't it? So it may mean I have to compromise on quality and the ability to get big points in one of those games, but I'm hoping by doing that you get the bigger total over the 2 matches, because they'll play both. I don't know. There's a lot of thinking to be done. But that's my thinking.
Like you say, then it depends, because 5.8 million, 1.5 versus Lingard is quite a lot to be spent somewhere else in your team. So you just have to weigh it up for the players that you want really, and go from there. I think. But Man United options, Lingard and Rashford could both be affected by Rooney. He could come in at number 10, Mata plays right, and Lingard goes out, or he could go straight back up front. So, yeah. I think if you go wildcarding this week, it's a bit risky to go with either of them.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think Rooney, it's a pain. We don't know he's going to come back anytime soon. He missed the under-21 game the other night, so maybe he's had a setback. It hasn't been announced yet. But yeah, I don't know. And also Man United, Lingard, I don't know. I like him as a player, but United are not a team to be relied upon this season. We'll see. But for me, I'm going to try and. I think it's all about eking out those two matches, and I think I will go Lanzini because I think he's the best neighbour there, which might mean that Payet has to go. But I think that could be the way I go. Yeah. Do you want to next one?
Well, let's have a look at immediate plans. So Gameweek 33. So we're talking about Gameweek 34. Gameweek 33, of course, we've got Everton and Palace have got 2 games. So let's have a look at Everton first. So Springbank asks about Ross Barkley. He's the most transferred in midfielder this week. Are we mad to go without him? He asks. So Kun Tozers asks, are Everton too distracted by the cup, given their league form? Are they perhaps a team to avoid? And Forlorn Hope thinks that perhaps those that wildcard in Gameweek 32 or aren't using their wildcard this week, Lukaku, triple captain. How about that then? So, I mean, I've had a look at the last 4 matches. I mean, all of these stats have been talking about the last 4. It's quite a good guide. Of course, we know Lukaku is the main draw there. 11 goal attempts, and no one's quite near him. Funes Mori is the next up, really, in terms of goal attempts. So that's not great. Morales, he's a bit of a wild card. I don't think he's going to start. He probably won't start either, really. But way down on this list is Barkley. He's absolutely atrocious, really. Two shots inside the box over the last 4 matches, both on target, to be fair. But that's pretty poor. 3 goal attempts. Those are the stats.
It's strange, isn't it? Because he's timed his kind of demise really badly because Everton have got these double game weeks, and I thought looking 6 weeks ago I was looking forward to it going Lukaku's in, Barkley's in, and I've got Barkley in my ultimate team, and I was looking at it a couple of months ago thinking, well, when these double game weeks come, I'm going to be all right because I've got Barkley and Lukaku, but now I look at it and think, no, I just don't think Barkley's. No, he could surprise us. He could come in. He's going to be a great differential. There's no doubt about it. He's definitely one to take a punt on if you're striving to be different. But I don't think many of the veterans. I don't think any of us 3 are going to be looking at him. I know his ownership is high, Joe. I know that, but his ownership amongst those playing wildcard and those playing chips, I don't think will be high, will it?
No, I mean, I think he's the most transferred in midfielder this week. He already had a huge ownership. He's a classic casual dullard pick, but for people who aren't looking at form and who aren't looking at the stats. Yeah,
I mean, this is it. It's like
they're fools, basically.
It's a bit odd, isn't it? The fact that we're all sitting there going, "Oh no, Barkley," and I think many people on our site will be, "No, we're not looking at Barkley." And yet he is top of transfers in. So, what is the profile of those people bringing him in?
As I said, they're not looking at. They're just looking at the name. They go, "Oh no, he plays for England. I know him. Not personally, but I know the name. He looks a bit attacking. Like back in November, was it November? He scored his last goal in open play.
He scored those 2 penalties, didn't he? Yeah.
And he scored 2 penalties recently, but that was only because Lukaku wasn't there. So Lukaku's playing. Yes, people aren't paying attention. Just like Bellerin, though, I bet you, it'd be really annoying. We'll be back here next week talking about Ross Barkley's wonderful hat-trick.
It could happen. He's a fantastic player. I'm not doubting that, but he's timed his run, his decline really badly because we would like to rely on him and we'd like to have him as an option there. As it is, Lukaku's the only one, isn't it, Andy? It's all about Lukaku, and there's nothing. Maybe Lennon, but I just don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, why people are transferring Barkley? They need an Everton player, and he's got 70 more points than the next midfielder, I think. Lennon, yeah, I think Lennon would be the most popular on the site for sure right now. He seems to be in form. He played at number 10 in the last game, I think, and then got moved over to the right. And I think I actually read a quote from Martinez on the site earlier saying that he's really pleased with him and he can play in these different positions. So if he's that versatile, it's the same with everyone else. We're just a bit worried that he's not going to start every game, I think. Obviously, Lukaku's the obvious one. Everyone's going to have him. He's in without a doubt. But yeah, not Barkley for me. Every time I watch him, he just seems to shoot from outside the box. and how often does someone score from there? So it'll either be Lennon or no one else for me, attacking wise.
So we'll get a hat-trick of 30-yarders now.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
You really don't. Yeah, no, I think that's fair enough. And elsewhere in the Everton side, I mean, at the back, it's Jagielka, who's possibly the most boring player in FBL history, isn't he? So not even you, Jonty, are looking at him, surely.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. I've got the poster already. I mean, I said it in my... We're running a series of Rate My Wildcard Team articles on Fantasy Football Scout, and I started with my one, and I was thinking, I'm not going to get Milner, I'm going to get Jagielka, because he's the next most dull. And I think he is. He's had 3 goal attempts over the last 4. Now, for a defender, centre-back, he plays Liverpool. He has a track record of doing quite well against Liverpool. And he's got 4 fixtures over two game weeks. I mean, I think he's the best one to get. I'm not saying he's in any way interesting because he's not. But I've also got Joel Robles in.
Yeah, I think that's the way to go.
I think he's definitely nailed on. He's such good value, and it's just the sheer quantity of games. So goalies always get save points, but yeah.
And I think Jagielka. I mean, the thing about Everton is. Unlike Palace, we're touching on them. I mean, Everton have got the FA Cup semi-final, but the match before that semi-final is Liverpool away. They're not going to not play Jagielka in that game. Whereas if you look at Palace, their semi-final with Watford, it follows the United away game, which if Palace are safe at that point, you could see Pardew rotating, I think, for the Old Trafford trip. If they don't need to get any points out of that, is he going to risk players for the United game when they got Watford in the FA Cup semi-final 4 days later? That's the factor. I don't think it's a factor with Everton. I think Jagielka probably will get 4 matches out of him. He's getting on, so maybe he'll get a rest. But I think Jagielka's a good option because you're going to get 4 matches. Whereas with the Palace players, I think that United game is a worry because of the Watford semi-final. So, I mean, what's your view on Palace at the moment, Jonty? Have you got any of their players in yet?
Well, this is it. Well, Messiah Hazard is asked the question, which Palace assets are worth getting? Double game week 33. Remember, they also played double game week 34 as well. Yeah. So, with a lot of fixtures. So, who to consider getting? Well, I had a look at some of the tables, and it's pretty grim reading. So, Bolassi's the one people are considering. He's had 4 shots on target the last 4. That's okay, not great, but no goals from that. So and Wickham is an interesting. If Wickham was fit, he'd be a very interesting kind of maverick punt. I'd be tempted by him. But once again, will he play? Gale played there. Yeah, Dan has got this goal thing. Once again, it's actually not as interesting as Jagielka. So Dan's not as interesting as Jagielka. Shocker, 2 shots on target over the last 4. Delaney's actually doing better there. So Delaney's had 4 in the box there. So Dan's had 6 in the box there. But of course, Delaney's got that goal as well.
I think for me, Dan is the option. I think when we're talking Palace, the goal threat from set pieces is so key because Pardew likes his set pieces, and we've seen them be effective with that. And the thing is about goals and set pieces, they can be scored against anyone, and they have got tough fixtures in game week 34. They've got 2 home games in the immediate game week. They've got Norwich and they've got Everton, and I think that clean sheets, well, I think that's a tough ask, but set piece threat I think is key, and I think for me that's why I'm going to go with Scott Dan. I think if I've got the funds, if I can, I'm going to go with him because I think he's capable of going to Arsenal or United in game week 34 and getting a goal as well. And so many times this season I've been tempted to get him in because I've looked at him and thought, wow, I fancy a clean sheet, and he's always got a chance of scoring, and then he's gone and scored, and I regret not getting him. So I just wonder whether I should this time. But that's it for me. Balassi, I think, is their attacking spark, but I wonder how many goals they're going to score. And I do think that Man United game in game week 34 is when Pardew is going to rest players because he'll want a fit team for Watford, because that's what matters. If they're safe, Watford FA Cup semi-final is what matters. And so someone like Balassi may not play at Old Trafford. Why would he play him when he needs him for the FA Cup semi-final? So yeah, I think Palace is difficult. And have you got your eye on anyone there?
Yeah, 2 at the moment. It's a double game week. I have to have someone. So originally I was going to have Scott Dan as well. And then I think it was Are You Serious, one of our regulars on the site. He pointed out that Delaney had been more attacking recently, and obviously for 1.4 million less, it's kind of handy. So Delaney's currently in my team. I think like everyone else is getting a Palace defender, just banking that they get a clean sheet against Norwich and then hoping for the best after that. And then I currently have Blassie as well. That slot is definitely going to be a double game week midfielder from this week, so it'll either be Blassie or Lennon. Not for any real reason other than they have a double game week, really. And I'm all in for double game weeks, so yeah, one of those two will be in for me. Not necessarily expecting much, but hoping for the best, I think.
Yeah, it's nice to roll the dice, isn't it?
Yeah, and I have a plan to upgrade him later on, so the blanks and stuff aren't a problem, so yeah.
I do like Blassie because he can explode. We saw him get a hat-trick at Sunderland, so he's got extraordinary scores in him, so he's just a jack-in-the-box. So I just think, yeah, it's a nice thing to have. I think I'm not writing that off. I may well go there as well, but it's just tricky. I worry about 34. If I'm going to get Blassie at 33, I think 34... he may have to go, so that's my thinking. Jonty, next one.
Well, let's talk about Liverpool. So, I mean, they've got a double game week 34. They've also got a double game week 37, and they play 35. So they're a team that wildcarders ought to be looking at. Coutinho's the big favourite at the moment. Why not? It's 2 goals the last 4, 2 goals the last 2, isn't it? And a couple of assists as well. He's in my team at the moment. I'm not sure about Firmino. Firmino was going to be nailed on, but is he going to be fit? I don't know. And I don't want to waste that opportunity. I think he'll play. I think the main questions about Liverpool, though, really have come from at the back. Which defenders do we get? So Mignolet's already on my side. I think 4.9 million for a Liverpool goalie, and they can keep clean sheets. That's a bargain. And I've currently got Sacco in my side. So it's between there's Moreno, Sacco, and Lovren, all very similar prices. Who's going to play 180 minutes? Currently, Sacco seems to be a bit iffy according to Liverpool fans, but he has these great games like against Manchester United, and then these terrible games like against Spurs. So I'm undecided at the moment. I know people won't like to hear that, but for that price, I think it's okay to be a little bit undecided on that. It's not a lot of money. I think just take your pick of either of them. I think they're all probably as nailed on as each other, possibly Lovren slightly more.
Yeah, I put Lovren in the watch list today. I changed it last night and took Sacco out. I think Lovren he's got his place there. I think Klopp likes a ball carrying defender. Lovren is that. He's been playing really well. Skirtle's the factor. Skirtle's the threat to Sacco. I don't think Sacco will keep his place over all these matches that remain. I mean, you're kind of looking at Liverpool. It's like the game week 34 situation. We're looking at the schedule and looking at their great fixtures. They're 2 double game weeks, and they've got good home fixtures as well. And you want a player who's going to play, and you don't want to get to game week 37 and find that Sacco's out the team, and you've got to spend a transfer there. So I personally think Lovren's the better option now. So that's where I'm going. Coutinho, Firmino, Firmino's in the squad for Dortmund game, I believe, so we think he's going to be fit for these matches. But is he going to play each one? Because Sturridge being the striker, Klopp's got options now. He'll probably rotate those two. Coutinho surely is more nailed on in that side. He's 0.1 more, and he's been effective, Coutinho. He's a stats monster, isn't he? He gets incredible opters, but he is producing at the moment, and Coutinho's in my team right now. Whether he'll stay, I don't know, but I think it's likely. So for me, I'm going Coutinho. I think Firmino's going to out from nowhere. It may well again be one of those players who turns out to be like Barkley, an unexpected differential for those playing wildcards and chips, because I think people are suddenly looking at Coutinho and going off the idea. So yeah, Firmino's interesting. Andy, what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, defence-wise, like you said, I really want Moreno, but Flanagan coming in and starting a game has kind of made me rethink that. So I would possibly have Sacco or Lovren at the back, because I do want a Liverpool player defend it. I'm not convinced they're going to keep clean sheets, but I just want one in, like you say, for the fixtures. And then in midfield, like sound like an echo, I've got Coutinho as well. Unless Firmino possibly starts or gets really decent minutes and then is fine after the game, you just can't risk it when you're on a wild card, and you don't want to be spending that transfer later on. So yeah, I've got Coutinho, and I also saw an interview with Klopp recently where he was saying that, I think it was the game against Spurs, he thought Coutinho was having to track back too often. He didn't want him doing that. He wanted him up there attacking. So maybe it'll be even more attacking next game. But yeah, I'm probably going to have 3 Liverpool players though, and I know last time I said this isn't who I wanted to go with, but Milner is highly likely to to be in my team.
Really?
It's just again, my team value is awful. Like when I see some people on the site, mine's just pretty bad. And if I want De Bruyne, which I do, then I need to cheapen elsewhere. I can't afford Payet as it is. So fixtures and penalties, I think Milner's going to be in my team, and I don't think I'm happy about it. But yeah, for me,
I find that extraordinary. Before we go on to the weekend preview, I want to talk about De Bruyne because we've spoken about him a lot tonight already, and we're banking on the fact that we've got to get him in. But tonight's, yes, he scored tonight in the Champions League, but tonight's result is significant for me because clearly they're in that tie and they're probably now favourites to go through with the 2 away goals. And if we look at how it's going to fall for them, the potential semi-final of the Champions League is going to fall after that Stoke game in game week 35. So 3 days after playing Stoke, I think it is, maybe 4, they will have a semi-final of the Champions League. Do we think De Bruyne is going to play at home to Stoke when they got a semi-final of the Champions League 3 days later?
Well, is any of them? Is Aguero going to play if you're going to use that logic? I think De Bruyne is at more of a risk because he's managing his minutes because he's come back, and Nasri can play in a variety of attacking roles as well. I don't know. I mean, De Bruyne, I think he's going to do well in game week 33. This is why I want to get him in. I think he'll do well in game week 34. He's proved he can score away. He suddenly got away form. Great. So if he doesn't play in game week 35, yes, it would be very annoying. But I think we can say that about quite a few players because the reason that we're getting them in, they've got double game weeks because their fixtures are really tight because they're involved in cups so all of them, are at risk. Who's going to play? I mean, yeah, chances are a Man City player like Fernandinho or Fabian Delph is going to end up being the highest scorer that week. But I think you have to just ignore that. You think he's a great player. He's got to get him in and hope he plays. I love him as a player, but I just worry about having Aguero and De Bruyne because of that game week 35 situation. Because I think Aguero will probably play that Stoke game if they make the semi-finals. Because I don't know, I think City still need to win that game, and I don't know if Bonnie and Iheanacho are going to be relied upon. But De Bruyne, they've got Nasri back. They got Sterling. Well, Sterling's injured, but they got Nasri back who's fit, who he'll want to give minutes to, and he can change the system. He can play 2 up front, so he could play Bonnie or Iheanacho with Aguero. I worry about that. So it's a factor for me, which is counting against De Bruyne. And also, I'm not even. I can't even be sure De Bruyne is going to start against West Brom. You kind of think that he's a key player now, but we know he was fatigued after the Bournemouth game, and he played tonight. And do they need him at home to West Brom when they've got someone like Nasri who's also he'll want to get fit and want to give minutes to? So I don't know. I'm worried about De Bruyne a little bit, enough where I think Aguero might just be the only City player I have. I think so. Seeds of doubt there. I know, Andy, you're banking on him. You're ripping your team up. So I mean, you're not going to listen to any of that, are you?
I knew coming on here tonight there was going to be a player you were going to make me worry about in my team. I didn't think it would be De Bruyne. I got to be honest, I didn't even realise that's when the semi-final was. I mean, I wouldn't be... I mean, they're not through yet. I wouldn't be so sure they're going to get through.
Absolutely. No.
Obviously, Pellegrini's not going to be there next year, but I think he's the kind of manager that still would want to finish 4th. He's kind of, he seems a bit of a classy guy, so I still think he's going to want to finish 4th. They could rest him. You're right. Nasri is back, even though Sterling's out. They've got those 3 across behind Aguero that can fill in without De Bruyne. But I still think he's good enough that I'm going to take the risk. Like Sanchez, he can be explosive.
Fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah, and his percentage is really low. So if you're climbing up the ranks, I don't tend to look at percentages. I usually just bring in the players I want. But he's like 5% owned overall or something like that. I just think he could be the man that not everyone else is looking at right now.
But I mean, even the West Brom game, the second leg with Paris Saint-Germain is next week. So why play De Bruyne at home to West Brom when you need him for the second leg? I just think I think people are just presuming that he's back, he's fit, he's going to play every game. Well, maybe. But
he might need minutes, I suppose, to stay fit. I don't know. It depends what the injury was. I can't remember exactly what it was, but he might give him a few minutes. I mean, he was pulled off tonight around 70th minute, I think.
Yeah, again, yeah.
So he hasn't played the full 90, so perhaps that'll stand him in good stead. But yeah, you're right. It could be a risky move.
No, I think they need him. I think he will start a West Brom game, but I don't think he'll get more than 70 minutes again, and Nasri's a factor because he'll want to get him fit, and yeah, I don't know. It's going to be very interesting. I think it's not as cut and dry with De Bruyne as you think, but he's high in our watch list, and he's much. Yeah, I'm deliberating it, but he's gone up 0.1 already, and I haven't got him in my team already. John T, are you going in for him, or are you still?
Yeah, I am. Yeah, I'm still quite keen. The important games for me, Game Week 34, plays twice. I think he will there. I don't think we've got too many rotation problems around that time.
Yeah.
And I think he'll play Game Week 33. Game Week 35, yeah, if they get to the semi-final, that's a potential issue. Game Week 33, say he's benched for that, so he doesn't come on. That shouldn't be a problem because we should have quite a nice squad for Game Week 33. I should have a nice bench there, so I'm not overly worried about that. And also Game Week 35, we've seen it the last few times there's been blank fixtures. We've ended up with pretty good ranks, but just basically doing the basics. There's going to be a lot of people with. We saw it all in our mini leagues. People with ended up fielding 7-8 players. That's going to be happening again. I think we're already on to a winner if we've been planning for Game Week 35. So I can live with going 10 players if he doesn't make it.
Okay, weekend preview. Let's save some double game week questions for next week. Let's get on to this weekend then, John T. Do you want to look at the fixtures and pick out your clean sheets first of all?
Right, yeah. Well, I think in terms of a clean sheet, there's quite a tough one here. There's a lot of iffy fixtures. I think that Bournemouth away to Villa.
You just can't see Villa scoring.
I just can't see Villa scoring, and it's just it's a bit of a cop-out really. But looking at all of the different fixtures, if you're looking at West Ham, Arsenal, I see goals there. Palace, Norwich, I see goals there. I mean, I'm looking through all of these fixtures. Possibly Watford, Everton. One of those might get a clean sheet, but no, for me, I think whoever's playing Villa, that's a clean sheet.
Yeah, Andy, what's your thoughts? The obvious one's gone then, hasn't it? So.
The obvious one, yeah. I mean, I suppose Man City, West Brom.
Yeah.
On there. But I'd probably back. But I'm gonna have to back Delaney, aren't I? I think Palace against Norwich, definitely one there. 6 points and then maybe a goal in the second game.
Yeah, I mean, I think Palace Norwich could be a 0-0. I mean, Norwich just need, Norwich just need to eke out points, don't they? And Sunderland are at home to Leicester, and Newcastle at Southampton. So I think Norwich will go to Palace and think, well, if we get a point there, that's okay. That will do us. I mean, they might fancy themselves winning that game. So. Yeah, that could be a 0-0. I think it is tough this week. It really is. I mean, you bank Leicester, I guess, but Sunderland are just fighting for their lives, and they got goals in them with Defoe. Watford, Everton, you don't see many goals in that, do you? The way they're playing, both out of form. And I guess Chelsea could. I don't know. No, Liverpool, Stoke, I guess, is the next one, isn't it? Stoke are a funny side though, inconsistent, and Liverpool's stats defensively are so strong. But they just don't turn it into clean sheets. But I think Liverpool-Stoke is the one I'll go for. I think there's an outside chance of one there. And we're all on a Liverpool defender somewhere, either Mignolet or Lovren or Sacco, as we said. Fancy Island risks. John T, have you got one lined up?
Yeah, I've got to go for Jagielka because he's so massively dull. I feel I ought to. It's like part of my DNA. One of the reasons is that goal attempts, and he's playing Liverpool. He tends to up his game against Liverpool. He's got the two fixtures. I mean, you've got to go for someone with two fixtures, so he's guaranteed some points there. Even with just one clean sheet. So that's why. I mean, is he a risk because he's dull? I mean, he's a risk in terms of differential. He's a risk in terms of no one will get him because he's so boring. But boring gets points.
Yes, you're very much proof of that, John T. Andy, what do you reckon?
Just because I like him and he's got a double, and I'm going to probably get him in my team, Balassi. For no other reason. I don't even know if he's going to do well. I've got my fingers crossed for him basically.
Yeah,
I like him as a player.
Yeah, I do, and I think he is. He could get 20 points, or he could get 2. He's more likely to get 2, but you never know. I think it's a good option. I'm gonna pick someone who for people who don't have wild cards, and this is a player that I've got a soft spot for. So I'm going to go Mane to Newcastle. I think that John T, if you haven't got a wild card, right, and you've got a transfer, why wouldn't you go with someone like Mane, who no one's going to get, who could be explosive? Because that could be quite. It's one of these things that we're talking about, FPL managers with wild cards, but if you didn't have a wild card now, it'd be almost quite liberating, and you could take a punt on someone like that, couldn't you? Or Max Gradle as well. That's a player who could do well this weekend.
Well, I think that's confusing back to two things of wildcard and double game weekers. What you need to do, you need to get your real quality. You don't want to be taking punts with single game weekers. You want to be taking no punts with the double game week players. They're the ones that could get you a huge haul. So Balassi could get you a huge haul. Probably won't, but he could do. Dan as well. These are the players I'd be recommending getting. But in terms of what I'd say is actually keep Harry Kane, keep Mahrez, keep Fuchs, keep Christian Eriksen if you've got him, keep Sigurdsson. All of these form players who are doing really well and are scoring points that are being ditched by all of us lot. Your only hope is to keep those players and use them as a differential. Use them against us. So that would be the ultimate for them.
We are scared of them, aren't we? Basically, we are scared that Mahrez and Vardy and Kane are going to turn up game week 34 and 35 in particular. It would be. I don't know what I'd do if I was in that scenario. I mean, we've been saving our wildcards and chips for this very moment, so we're so detached from that. But getting back into the mindset of someone who would only have one transfer or two transfers maybe in the next couple of weeks is hard to do. But yeah, I don't know. It's just going to be an incredible couple of game weeks because there's such a division now between these guys who have played their wildcards and their chips earlier, and us who are just ripping our sides apart and turning our backs on these players that, like you say, could be turned against us quite easily. So yeah, it's going to be very interesting. But yeah, I think Mane and Gradle, if you're looking for one-hit wonders, could do well this week. You've got to back Bournemouth, like you say, at Villa, and I think Mane always seems to do well at the end of the season. I don't know what it is about that. Maybe, and he's playing for a move, maybe new contract. I don't know, but against Newcastle, you've got to back Southampton to score goals, and I think there'll have to be goals in that game if Newcastle are going to get anything out of it. So I'll go those two. So should we talk captains? There's no point in talking transfers, is there, Jonty? Because we'll be here all night going through our transfers. But I believe you want to put your team out there, though. You've put it on paper here in front of us, so you're quite happy to discuss it. But is there anyone you haven't mentioned so far that you want to chat about in that team?
No, I mean, I've mentioned all of the key ones there. I'm keeping Bellerin. I've got him in. I've mentioned all the players that I've got in. If people want to see that in detail, on Fantasy Football Scout, we have the Rate My Wildcard Team Surgery articles. I did one on Monday. You can see that on the site. Andy's one went up today, and so you can see his team. And Spencer, another one of our contributors, will be Friday's guinea pig there. So no, I mean, as I said, I've got Kane, I've got Mahrez, I've got Fuchs in my sides, Mitrovic, De Bruyne, and Jagielka are all set to come in.
So Jagielka is coming in. You weren't jesting. I thought you were just overplaying the boring card, but you are actually going for it.
And that'll be 15. Right. And I worked it out. It's 15 double game weekers. Yeah. And that also gives me, for game week 33, it gives me 4 double game weekers. It gives me 9 players for game week 35 with 2 transfers, so I'm keeping it a bit tight there. So I might have to take a hit, but to get 11 out. So I think I can get an 11 out game week 35. And I'm focusing a bit on Liverpool, and I have got Lingard in there because I'm looking ahead to game week 37. So I'm going to be starting from game week 35, stocking up on game week 37. So that's my plan there.
And you're keeping Payet for 37 in mind with the captaincy. I mean, that's one thing we didn't mention when we talked about him, is those 2 fixtures in 37 are so strong, aren't they?
And obviously for this coming game week, I'm captain Lukaku. I think anyone who doesn't, who's got a wild card, is brave.
Yeah, and it is. I think it's kind of an academic question, isn't it? The captaincy, it's got to be Lukaku this week. Andy, have you got any business to be done with your wild card yet? I mean, you like me, you're still sitting on Kane, you're still sitting on Payet, but you're going to be showing those the door, I take it.
Yeah, Kane's gone. Payet's only there because I was waiting for a price rise and hoping he would go before De Bruyne, and they went at the same time, so I've come out even there. I actually made a draft on Saturday, and the only thing I've done since is change Rojo and Dan to Smalling and Delaney, and I've not changed it since, and I don't think I'm gonna, unless there's some injury news. I've posted it on the site and on Twitter. I've got a spreadsheet made. Things got really serious this week. There's a spreadsheet. I've got it planned till 38. I know who my transfers are going to be. Obviously, it's not going to work like this. I'll be taking hits galore come 35. But yeah, I think I've got 15 double game week players in 34. I've got 11 in 35, and then 8 double game week players for 37. And I'll have 2 free transfers before then, so I can get at least 10 without a hit. So that's the plan. one thing I would say on the two transfers I made since Saturday is I did go Smalling. I know people have asked in the chat. Smalling and De Gea that only nailed on Man United defenders. That's the end of the story. If anyone's looking for different news, there isn't any, basically. I think Darmian and Rojo will definitely play one, and they've got potential to play both, but Chris Smalling is your man, or David De Gea.
Yeah, it's so expensive though, isn't it? But yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I mean, that's why Kane is difficult to hold on to, because you kind of think, well, if I get rid of Kane, I can get Smalling, who can definitely get me to, well, not definitely, but he looks strong for 2 clean sheets with the fixtures, with the Villa Palace at home. You just can't see Villa scoring at Old Trafford, and Palace don't have a striker at the moment either. So yeah, that's what you get for selling Kane and going Smalling or De Gea. You're not going both, though, are you? Got De Gea and Smalling then?
No, I can only afford one. Yeah, Chris Smalling's in. I think 6.5 is quite expensive, but only compared to the other United players. I think in general, Villa and Palace, I know it won't necessarily work like this, but you've got, if you had to bet money, that's 2 clean sheets right there.
Yeah.
So there's 12 points before bonus, and like I've been saying for about 10 weeks, he's due a goal. So this is going to be the week.
I mean, you've been planning for this you've been looking forward to this period for weeks and weeks and weeks, Andy. You've been mad for it, haven't you? Bench boosters out, 15 players, it's all about that. So you've got to be pretty content at the moment to be tinkering with this spreadsheet of yours, and make, for me, I'm pretty uncomfortable with it, I've got to admit, because it's a big time sink and I'm not really used to throwing as much time into my team. I'm all about obviously everybody else's team and writing articles for the site and so on, and looking at the bigger picture, to actually focus on my team intently for as long as I have already and as long as I've got to for the rest of the week. It's difficult. I mean, and John, are you enjoying it? Because normally for you, it's kind of, you kind of know what you're doing, and you're a very steady player in terms of what transfers you make. Whereas now, this is a complete frenzy, isn't it? I mean, you enjoying the process?
Yeah, I've always enjoyed looking at the stats and wildcard time, double game weeks, and I know next week we'll come to some of our favourite double game week memories. We'll save that until next week. It's an exciting time. But also, one of my jobs at the site is to edit and coordinate the community articles. So basically, the really learned people in the community are sending in these articles. I get to read them first, get to look over them and chat to them about it. So I'm getting all that information, and then the community is getting it all as well. So I do urge people just to read a lot of our community articles that come out. We mentioned Balder's great double game week strategy article, and there's plenty more coming out this week. They save me a lot of time because I'd look at them and I think, and I can see, I can see they're presenting the stats of people like Mitrovic. Bellerin was a key player I wanted in for the double game week, so I got him in early. These are all from the advice of those there, and so it's great. Yeah, so it's saving me time there. I don't mind it at all.
Go on, sorry, Andy.
Yeah, what I found actually is once you start factoring in game week 35 blanks, I found it is actually a bit easier than usual. If there was no blanks, I think I'd be still tinkering right now, because you can have absolutely anyone you want without worrying about what they're doing next week. But I found, obviously it's spreadsheets, not everyone needs a spreadsheet, but once I mapped it out and, saw who's going to play when, I was actually pretty happy with my team. And that's what, like I said, I've only made 2 changes since Saturday. So, I think the blanks are helping actually keep people in some kind of check. So it's not like a free-for-all. There's only, certain players aren't going to play, and certain players are going to play all the time, and you're going to want them. So I found that's helped.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to try and find, people have criticised me in the past. I've got to try and find something different in there, because I think there is a danger that we're going to have similar teams, and I want 1 or 2 X-Factor players like Townsend who could just spark and do something. So for me, I want to keep tinkering, but I am enjoying it in a way. But like I say, I'm not used to spending like an hour, 2 hours a night changing players in and out. But that's what wildcards and double game weeks do, and it is engaging, and it is enjoyable. And the community, like you say, seem to be relevant in it, don't they, Jonty? There's just so much out there, so much discussion, so many articles coming out of it. And I'm glad that we've managed to come back and do a Scoutcast, and we'll have one next week, and we'll have more double game week questions, I'm sure. There'll be lots more we haven't touched on. We haven't looked at goalkeepers. We've got game week memories to go over, and I'm sure there'll be a few more questions next week, isn't there?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, all of those things you mentioned there, and also, yes, because some of our plans that we're all talking about here, and all the players we mentioned, who knows what's going to happen? Could be suspensions, could be injuries, could be a drastic drop in form that's a worry, and we could have some emerging. If Townsend scores a couple of goals, suddenly everyone will want him. So yeah,
I kind of hope that doesn't happen. But yeah, it's fascinating time. So yeah, I mean, we're still thinking to end on. We're thinking that it can only be a good thing for the veterans and for FFS managers as well. We think that more green flags on the way, Jonty.
Yeah, I think so. I think we've seen it, as mentioned before, with the blank double game, with the blank weeks that we've had. The community prepared for them just by simply fielding 11 players are already looking at green arrows. And I think if you're preparing like we are for the double game weeks, I mean, myself and Andy here are looking at 15. So we're essentially fielding hopefully 30 players. And because we're using the bench boost there, I mean, that should be getting 60, 70 points off the bat without them doing anything. So, that's already, you've got to march on people who are just fielding maybe 5 double game week players. Yeah.
It's going to be a huge shake-up. We'll see what the fallout is, and it all starts this weekend with Palace and Everton, and we'll be back next week to talk about double game week 34, which is just going to be mad. I mean, that one goes on till Thursday. These are heady times in FBL and on the Scoutcast and FFS. Thanks so much, Andy, for joining us tonight and talking over your plans. And Jonty, another round of questions, and thanks for sharing your ode to Phil Jagielka. I never thought I'd see the day. I thought it was going to be Milner. You superseded it with Jagielka. It could be a masterstroke. It's good night from me.
Good night from me.
Good night from me.
Good night all.